Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back to another Poem Master video, and tonight we got the Kukui Lycanroc and Olivia Lycanroc dual banner dropping. It's a rerun, right? Um, as you know, for now, generally the shitty summon videos, right? And not too much to talk about in terms of the banner summoning or not. All I mean, there is like a bit to talk about if you for this banner specifically, but generally, it's just gonna be more so just going over the units, right? As for the banner itself, it should be a split rate. I would assume 1.5% each banner, right? Should be a Spotlight Scout. Again, it's a rerun. In terms of summoning, generally, by the time you should probably know, let's save up some gems, right? I mean, there's a Poke Fair coming later this month. The anniversary is at the end of the month, right? I mean, this is a rerun. The units are fine. It's just, it's a rerun, folks. Generally, you do have these units, or if you don't, you should probably still save anyways. However, that being said, doing dailies, if you don't have Kukui yet, doing dailies on this banner should be fine, right? Because again, Kukui is very, very good, especially with the Synchron expanded. It's incredibly powerful, right? So let's just go over the units. Let's talk about Olivia first, because Olivia not that much to talk about in comparison. Olivia does good damage, right? Has a really really good attack stat. However, it has like almost no multipliers, but it doesn't have a grid, unfortunately. There are some downsides to Olivia. Like it does solid damage. However, its speed's not the greatest, and it does have amp up, but just because it's like its base speed is like kind of slow, right? It's just not that great, unfortunately, but it's fine. It's fine. It generally doesn't have too much gauges. It takes a while to build up Olivia, but once you build it up, the speed issue isn't like that large. As for some other stuff, HP not really good. Both defenses are fine, except for the fact that you have to use the trainer move Hard as Diamonds, which sharply raises the accuracy and critical hit rate, but sharply lowers the special defense. So against like physical units on the opponent's team, you should be fine generally, but you do not want to get touched by like a special AoE or sync or special sync move. You will get hit very very hard. However, on the flip side, you hit pretty hard back, right? Stone Edge, good power. Unfortunately, the 80% accuracy kind of sucks, so you're kind of forced to use Hard as Diamonds because there really aren't really any good physical physical accuracy supports in the game. But yeah, also the other really good thing about Hard as Diamonds, again, the downside kind of sucks, but the upside for Hard as Diamond is you only need to use one, and you get 100% crit on Stone Edge, since this is +1 crit on Stone Edge, and you get basically good accuracy as well, right? As for some other stuff, X attack is whatever. I mean, it's fine, but it's nothing special. Rock throw, you'll almost never use it. But anyways, Olive is just a pretty standard striker that hits decently hard, right? Yeah, she's still good. She's still good. A lot of people saying she's again, you can't really compare her to like stuff like Jigglypuff or whatever, right? Or Lone Sandslash or any other like gridded strikers. Gridded strikers just kind of blow ungridded strikers out of the water, just for the simple fact of having MGRs or MPRs. But if you compare her to like other like ungridded strikers, she's really really good, right? And plus, you don't have that many rock type strikers in the game. Although we do have Kukui's Grid expanded, which now Kukui actually deals some serious damage, right? But otherwise, it's a fine unit. It just doesn't have much because unfortunately it has no sync grid, right? As for Kukui, Kukui is definitely the stars of this banner, right? Kukui is pretty insane, right? So as for the stats, really really good speed, right? Solid defenses, HP not the best. Attack is kind of whatever either, right? As for the moves, got Rock Tomb, Accelerock. Rock Tomb lower speed, obviously. Accelerock, it's a quick move. You could use it 3 times, and then power 75 or 90. Again, depends on the sync move level. And no additional effects. You do not need any gauges for this, which is nice. Woo Refreshing, which basically gives you 3 more Accelerocks, and then sharply raises user attacks. So you get a total of 9 Accelerocks before you run out. And then Leer is an AoE, opponent lower defense, which is fantastic, right? And this is why it makes Kukui, a top tier tech unit of the game, right? As for some other stuff, its sync move is actually pretty interesting. It removes physical and special damage reducing effects from the opponent's field of play. You could have used that in, during Kobalion's event if you really needed it, right? Because it could remove that. As for some other stuff, it has Surging Sand 5 and Unflappable, can't flinch. Surging Sand 5, obviously that extra 50% damage. And Sandstorm, which makes Kukui's damage actually decent. The only other thing that's holding Kukui's damage down is honestly just the Cellaroc's damage. It's not like the greatest. However, Kukui is getting a Synchro, and Kukui's Synchro is pretty insane, right? So for starters, in terms of damage, Kukui's damage skyrockets, right? If you max grid Kukui, it easily out damages Olivia, right? Because you have Surging Sand 5, so that's another extra 50%. So that's basically 100% over here if you add those up, and you'll lucky skill it for an extra 30%. So it's 100. You got 130 on that. As for some other stuff, obviously you got Accelerock power-ups to make Accelerock not as, actually hit hard. As for some other stuff, Sand Shelter, so don't get hurt in Sandstorm, which makes a lot of sense. Sands of Time, quickly charges gauge and Sandstorm. I don't think this is really necessary, because if you're Kukui, you basically don't need any gauges, unless you're, like, even if you're, like, Leer spamming, like, you still don't need gauges. This is overkill, but you could always pick it up. It's always good to have. Soothing Sand, which is phenomenal, right? Because if you are making, if you are running, like, a tech build of Kukui, which is totally possible and very, very good, you definitely would want Soothing Sand on it, right? Especially if you're running it with, like, Garchomp and Acerola, you do want to heal, because none of the other guys are really, tanking. I guess Acerola tank, but, like, a Kukui is also a viable option for a tank if you pick up Soothing Sound as well, right? Powerflux 3 is Powerflux 3. I don't think you'll ever pick it up unless you just don't want to go for Hunter's Instinct, and like if you're fine settling with lower damage, then sure you could pick up Powerflux 3. As for some other stuff, Accelerock Staggering 5, it, just going more into the Kukui's tech portion of its grid, Staggering 5 Accelerock is like insanely busted. It does cost 13 energy, but it's well worth it, right? 60% chance to flinch the opponent on a Accelerock, which is, again, very, very crazy. And I also got Woo Refreshing MP Refresh, which is pretty important to get, more Accelerocks, right? Eventually, if you ever run out of them, you could just get more of them back with Woo Refreshing MP Refresh, and plus some special or physical attack buffs. As for some other stuff, Leer MGR 4, right? You could run a complete, like, tech build with, like, Accelerock Staggering 5, Leer MGR 4. And there's something else that you could also run. Oh, also Hunter's Instinct. You have Hunter's Instinct on that, which, if you lower the opponent's speed to the max, that's an extra 30% damage on your Accelerock. So, like, your Accelerock, like, Kukui's damage just skyrockets after the grid, right? It's not going to go, like, to Garchomp levels of damage, but it's definitely still very, very powerful. Really, really good damage on Kukui, and most importantly, Cellarrock uses 0 gauges, so you could just run extremely, like, gauge heavy units on the team, and you don't have to worry about it, just because Kukui uses no gauge and has like 400 something speed, right? 407 speed. As for some other stuff, it also has a really, really powerful sync nuke. It has both Cakewalk and Sandblaster 5, and obviously sync move power ups. You also have Fanfare 1, which is +1 to attack when you're using a sync move. You could use that, I guess, if you're trying to conserve MP for some reason or whatever. So Kukui, all around, very, very, very powerful unit. Even without the grid, Kukui was, one of the best units that don't have a grid. Now with the grid, obviously much, much better. So yeah, that's for this one, I guess. Again, as for banner, nothing too much to talk about. Generally, probably do not want to summon on it, even though like Kukui is insanely powerful. It's kind of whatever, right? You want to save your gems. But however, like I mentioned before, if you do have the resources to do daily pulls on this, it should be 3 pulls per day. And if you don't have Kukui or Olivia, that's definitely something that I would look to do on the banner. But as for the units, again, Olivia is slightly outdated, but still very, very much usable. And Kukui Lycanroc is just on another level now, right? So anyways, that's for this one. I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know, guys, think in the comments down below. Like and enjoy this video. Start our channel for some more Pokemon content. I'll see you guys in the next one.